If you're having a hard time deciding between HubSpot CMS and WordPress, this video will break down the key differences between the two platforms and explain them and give you the information you need to make a choice. So let's get started with a little overview of each platform. So HubSpot CMS is built into HubSpot's all-in-one CRM platform. It allows people to build and manage websites on HubSpot's proprietary system, which means the CMS is hosted in the cloud and it's all updated by HubSpot. So giving, a keen focus on autonomy for you as a kind of website user and editor, and a focus on speed and uptime. And I suppose that makes HubSpot CMS website creation and management easy, especially for marketers that don't have the knowledge or resource and that technical expertise. And as well, it's got that tight integration with HubSpot CRM and marketing tools and sales tools and service tools, which is a great advantage. HubSpot CMS is a really good choice for businesses wanting that all-in-one solution to create a website that's tied into the rest of their operations. WordPress is the most popular CMS out there. It's an open source content management system, and the website builder itself can be self-hosted or hosted through third-party providers. And it's important to note, actually, that there are two versions of WordPress, and they do have some big differences. So you've got WordPress.com, which is the free blogging and website hosting service. That's run by Automatic, who are basically the company behind WordPress. And this is generally used by individuals and bloggers to create basically like quick sites. They have limited control and customization and ownership. So they're primarily just used as kind of like content places. And then you've got WordPress.org, which is the open source WordPress software that can be downloaded and then self-hosted on your own server or like third-party server. And WordPress.org provides complete flexibility and ownership of your site and data. So, it's the choice for businesses rather than WordPress.com. Like with most content management systems, there are lots of different ways to develop and create editing experiences within HubSpot CMS. But as standard and the most flexible way to create a website is using the HubSpot drag and drop editor. This is a really intuitive, flexible way to give you complete control over your pages. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what that looks like. I'm in the blend test portal here, and let's create a website page. This is kind of the process you would go through anyway. To create a page, you'd hit that button, put in your name, create page, and then we come through to the section where you select a theme, and you'll see there's a drop down here where you can change the theme. So, likely you will have a bespoke theme made for you, but if you used a marketplace theme, that would also come in here. Barricade is just a HubSpot default theme because I want to show you what kind of things they're using in terms of editability. So let's go to this homepage. We'll select that as a template and then come straight into the page here. So you can see already we've got a bit of a different editing experience because I can drag these elements now here, there, and everywhere. Whereas the example I showed on the Blend website, we didn't have this kind of editability. So what HubSpot have got here is sections within themes and then columns with modules within those. So it's highly, highly, highly editable. You can really just take any element here and drop it in. I can change kind of alignment and spacing, and I can center content and change the viewport width and all of those kind of things. It's really highly drag and drop. And I suppose it's down to you if you want this kind of level of editability, or if you want to pare it back a bit and just strike that balance between editability and restraint, just to maintain that consistency. But, this is what's capable in HubSpot. It's fully drag and drop. I can change these sections, and as soon as I hit publish or update, it's going to look exactly like this. I can drag in another module if I wanted to. So let's say I wanted just some more text above this section, drag that in, there it is. So then I can go ahead and start typing in there. So really drag and drop everywhere in here. You've got total full control over this entire website, where you want things what you want on there and how you want them to look. Okay, so let's move into WordPress's editing experience. So I've just set up a brand new site here. There's no plugins installed, nothing like that, just the standard WordPress theme too. But let's just dive in and show you what that would look like on its own. Worth bearing in mind before we do that, obviously with WordPress being open source, there are a ton of themes out there and plugins that provide different editing experiences. So what you see here on this website will be completely different to another website. It's not like HubSpot that's restricted in that aspect, that they kind of all have to work in a similar fashion, different but similar. WordPress can be quite wildly different, but I'm just going to show you what is capable here. So let's go with the home page here. So I've gone into pages. Let's open that up, edit the home page. And what you'll see is, I mean, this is quite blank, obviously. There is no theme, like I said, installed. But I just want to kind of show you what the editing experience is like as default. So unlike WordPress used to be, you kind of now do have this fancy WYSIWYG editor where I can start to drag and drop elements within here. So I've got a list block in there. I can drag a quote in underneath that. I can put in some images or a gallery below that. And then I can make these look nice as well with backgrounds and stuff like that. Banners, all of these kind of seems like unlimited options of things that you can add in. So really highly editable, actually. Probably quite hard to get right out of the box and make it look kind of really nice just with these kind of standard modules here. But that's the editability that you can now expect with WordPress by default. There are plugins out there like Elementor that have a similar experience and might be able to pare it back a bit and add in some restrictions, and other plugins out there too. But that's an experience that you can expect and something to bear in mind. Okay, so let's get into security now. And this is where the two platforms differ quite heavily. So HubSpot provide a secure environment, hosting environment right out of the box. Sites are on their infrastructure. It's managed by HubSpot. It's automatically kept up to date by them with all of the latest security patches. It's got a lot of useful protections built in, like reCAPTCHA, spam filtering, single sign-on and integrations. It all comes standard out the box with HubSpot CMS. And HubSpot CMS licenses also come with a free SSL certificate, which enable encryption. So that's great out of the box again. And it sits behind, the platform sits behind HubSpot's firewalls, DDoS mitigation, and monitoring, constant monitoring and identification to address any threats that might occur on your website. And it's worth noting that with HubSpot managing all of these key security provisions for you, as a website owner, you can kind of just rest easy and know that HubSpot CMS sites are just locked down for you. You don't really have any security risk to worry about at all. And since any plugins or integrations are limited, there are a few on the marketplace, but again, you don't have many vulnerabilities to actually worry about. So HubSpot CMS is really good when it comes to security. Sites are secured on the back end by HubSpot and requires really little security upkeep from the actual site owner themselves. Okay, so let's talk about WordPress security. And whilst WordPress can offer more flexibility in some cases, site owners will have to take on the responsibility for security. Most WordPress websites are self-hosted, which means the website owner themselves will have to perform or get somebody to perform any patches or upgrades themselves to the software to basically like harden their website. And you'll have to install all of the plugins like reCAPTCHA, spam filters, and get the SSL certificates required yourself if you want to encrypt your website. And, whilst that flexibility is a benefit in some cases, you'll have more plugins and integrations on your website, which can provide vulnerabilities to security. So that will require constant monitoring and upgrades that will take time and potentially expense. So yeah, overall, when it comes to security on WordPress, it's important to take note here. And if you do go down this route, just be diligent about actually having these security implementations and maintenance in place so you can make sure your site is protected against any threats. Let's talk about infrastructure. And the word infrastructure might seem a little scary or confusing to marketers or non technical people, but simply put, every website exists on a server which serve as the backbone of your online presence. And the server themselves provide that infrastructure that your website needs for the experience, including networking, power, and redundancy. When it comes to HubSpot CMS's infrastructure, it's managed for you. It's a managed infrastructure. So with HubSpot, all of your sourcing, maintenance, configuration, and monitoring are all included within the CMS license fee, which means you don't have to worry about kind of managing multiple vendors or dealing with any complexities of infrastructure management. It's just all within the package and the software. And when it comes to the actual features of HubSpot's infrastructure, it is a really great package. You know, they've got a lot of desirable features in there that anybody who is looking for a website infrastructure would have. So SSL sourcing and configuration, content delivery network, there's lightning fast performance. Like HubSpot has you covered in a lot of areas when it comes to infrastructure, and it's all managed for you. WordPress doesn't provide that managed infrastructure out of the box. As a website owner, you'll have to source that infrastructure that you need elsewhere. This usually means that you just need to find a reliable hosting provider that can ensure the uptime and power and efficiency of your website. The host is essentially your infrastructure. So that host that you select provides the crucial role in performance and security of your website. So without a reliable host, you might get slow loading times, downtime, and security risks. So it's really important to select a good host when it comes to WordPress. Other infrastructure challenges when it comes to WordPress includes that some servers might only have like one IP address, so it might mean they're a bit more vulnerable to cyber attacks or DDoSing, essentially overwhelming a server with traffic, taking down your website essentially. So yeah, it's important to understand what measures your host has in place for their server, and if you needed to invest in additional security measures such as firewalls and DDoS protection services, just to make sure that your website is safe and the uptime is secured. Okay, let's move on to analytics and data. So HubSpot CMS has all of this built in. It's got built-in analytics and data right within the platform itself. So you've got website analytics that provide traffic, conversions, bounce rate, other metrics relating to your website pages themselves. And since HubSpot CMS is also part of the larger HubSpot ecosystem, like with your CRM, you've got first-party data within there, and that integrates with your website metrics too. So that means you can kind of see anything really within HubSpot when it comes to data, as long as you've got the properties and stuff needed within there. So you've got a unified view of customer data and behavior that you can't really get from any other CMS that isn't part of your CRM too, at least without a complex integration at hand. So yeah, you've got that all within the HubSpot platform itself. The analytics are baked right in. WordPress doesn't have these built-in data analytics at all. You might need to get those from third-party tools like Google Analytics or similar third-party plugins. Also, like CRM, first-party data, not going to be in there. So that will need an integration with other systems and your CRM like Salesforce, Zoho, or maybe even HubSpot. So yeah, analytics and data within WordPress itself, within the platform, within the software, can prove tricky. It's going to require plugins or integrations to get to the level that HubSpot has. When it comes to SEO tools, HubSpot CMS has a lot of these baked in as standard. You've got website SEO recommendations, content optimization recommendations, content strategy and planning tools, and obviously the analytics that we just spoke about. And it's also got a few other kind of behind the scenes benefits. So like automatic XML sitemaps that are generated for you, automatic schema markup, which is beneficial in search results. So yeah, you've got a lot of this outside that comes straight out of the box with HubSpot. WordPress can definitely be great for SEO, but it does require some customization to get to the level of functionality that's offered as standard within HubSpot. So, like to add custom meta descriptions, by default, you'll have to get into that code to do it. But you can install something like Yoast, the most popular SEO tool out there, which allows you to add any meta data within there and do a lot of other functionalities too, like adding canonical links and stuff like that. So yeah, Yoast will be your best friend in this case and give you a lot of that functionality. But as standard, you don't kind of get the website SEO recommendations and things like that. So yeah, worth bearing that in mind. And you'll probably find a plugin to do it in WordPress, but it doesn't come out of the box. Let's talk about website personalization. And I'm back on the Blend website here again because I think it's good to visually explain what smart content is. So within our work module here, you can see we've actually already got a smart rule set here. So smart content is HubSpot's version of website personalization, and you can personalize based on a few different categories here, which I'll show you in a sec. But you can see for now, we've got two different versions of this module, one for default country, anybody. And if people are visiting the website from the US, then they'll see a different group of work here, which is US related work. But just to show you some of the smart rules capability as standard. So if I hit add smart rule here, what you'll see is we can show different content based on a range of categories. And I would break this down into, so you've got categories that don't require first party data and don't require somebody to be within your CRM. So things like ad source, country, device type, referral source, all of these things mean that you can tailor content without knowing who the person is within your database. So if I were to hit country there, I can then add a rule and check whatever country I want to show this different content based on. If I had a group of people within my CRM, I could create a list and say, these people all have this interest, so I am now going to show them this piece of content for this module. Or if they're a customer lifecycle stage, I can then say, I'm going to show customers this, I'm going to show leads this, and that kind of thing. So HubSpot's very flexible when it comes to website personalization. With WordPress, you don't get any personalization out of the box. It would require a third-party plugin to be able to do that. But even with the best WordPress personalization plugin, you'll only be able to set conditions based on anonymous visitors. So like we just saw with countries, referring sites, recently viewed pages, things like that. So it's not using first-party data or like lists of people or lifecycle stages like within HubSpot. It's just kind of based on anonymous visitor information. Let's move on to website customization. And as a proprietary CMS, HubSpot has been perceived as a less customizable option due to its inability to run server-side code. But actually, this is a bit outdated now because HubSpot is highly customizable. With the introduction of HubDB and serverless functions and web apps, the platform has actually become highly customizable. And okay, whilst implementing some of these features might require a bit more effort, the actual possibilities of what you can now do on the platform are almost endless. From a visual standpoint, the thought that you can't have a beautiful HubSpot website is actually really not true. And the only limit in terms of front-end customization is just due to a lack of design or HubSpot CMS development capability. Because if you have the experience and expertise, HubSpot CMS can really be customized to look however you want. WordPress is kind of known as the king of customization. Like the WordPress platform is highly customizable. Themes can be customized with server-side code. Okay, you'll need a developer, but you can kind of extend it in whatever way you need to suit your requirements. And when it comes to themes, there are over 9,000 available in the official WordPress theme repository. They've got a range of functionality and cost too, obviously. But, even with the most basic WordPress theme, users will have some control over website customization. And when it comes to plugins, obviously, this is a huge benefit for WordPress because there are nearly like 60,000 free plugins alone that give you lots of ability to extend the functionality of your website as required. But as with all things, and like we mentioned, in security, it's important to take care and just not overdo it when it comes to installing plugins, because it's far too easy to get carried away installing plugins that extend your website. And all this does is increase load times and the security risk of your website. So if you are using WordPress and plan to use plugins, just take caution when doing that. When it comes to e-commerce capability, HubSpot doesn't provide that dedicated e-commerce solution that you might expect elsewhere. So if you did need a fully featured online store with extensive product catalogs and promotions, upsells, reviews, etc., HubSpot won't meet your needs out of the box. But it does offer some e-commerce capabilities and integrations that could suit your needs. So if you wanted to carry on using HubSpot CRM or marketing tools or other functionality, or you wanted an e-commerce store on the side, you can connect HubSpot to other dedicated e-commerce platforms like Shopify or WooCommerce. And this gives you the best of both worlds, basically. HubSpot handles your CRM, marketing automation, all of the good stuff that comes with HubSpot. And you've got the e-commerce store to power the online shop, essentially. So this is usually a popular choice for businesses that have their main website on HubSpot CMS, but maybe like a e-commerce shop on the side of things. And if you were doing really kind of basic online selling, HubSpot does have a payments product or feature that allows you to create hosted payment pages and connect to Stripe to basically take payments online. So if you're selling like services or membership fees, event tickets, or just very simple things, HubSpot payments can do that, but it totally lacks advanced e-commerce features from a dedicated e-commerce platform. Like most things when it comes to WordPress, e-commerce capability is possible, but it does require a plugin. And the most popular plugin for this on WordPress is WooCommerce. The actual plugin itself is free, it's open source, and it's really simple to install. And you've got complete e-commerce functionality of your entire WordPress website, which is why it's highly popular. So you can have like product listings, a cart, checkout, transactions, shipping fees and taxes, all within WooCommerce and kind of extended onto your existing WordPress site as it is. So I suppose using both together, WordPress and WooCommerce, means you can basically leverage the CMS capabilities of WordPress along with having that e-commerce store built in as well. So it's a full online store integrated with your blog, service pages, main website pages, accounts, and everything else. When it comes to blogging, HubSpot is really great, and I'll show you an example here of what the blogging experience looks like within HubSpot. So let's take our most recent blog here on the Blend website, and like with the page editor, we can hit the sprocket up here because I'm logged in, and I can edit post. And what we get straight away is a nice WYSIWYG editor like you'd expect from a blog. So whatever I put in the title here will then be reflected in the title on the page itself. Same with the WYSIWYG editor here. I can just type straight in, and then whatever I update or publish will look identical to whatever's on this page. I can add in some videos here. I could insert images that you'll see down here, and I've kind of changed the font size to suit better in there. So yeah, you can see it's just a WYSIWYG editor, really easy to use and add in like anchor links and stuff like that. So yeah, really nice WYSIWYG editor in HubSpot. And within the settings, you get all of your meta data within here. So I've got the blog title, URL, featured image, meta description, everything like that, straight within the editor itself. And the other thing with HubSpot is as soon as I publish this blog, I then have the option to send it out as a blog digest email to the rest of my database that are signed up to receive that. So it's a nice way of linking what you're doing on your blog with the rest of your kind of marketing efforts. When it comes to blogging on WordPress, we have a similar experience. So they're called posts on here. So let me dive into this post on HubSpot versus WordPress that I might have just set up. So what you can see, again, another WYSIWYG editor. So yeah, we can add in any text that we want in here, basically. You also get the blocks, patterns, and all of the media that you can drag and drop within the blog itself. So quite highly customizable for a blog, not really a standard thing you would expect. So if you are using these things, yes, you can make your blog highly customized, but probably take a bit of caution to not go overboard and add in too many elements to make your blog look not like a blog. So yeah, again, it's a good WYSIWYG editor to use right there. And if you did want to customize the metadata within your blog, which you definitely should do, the easiest way to do this would just be to install a plugin like Yoast and let that manage it for you. Otherwise, you'll be digging around in code and you really don't want to be doing that just for a blog. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about AI and the AI features within HubSpot and WordPress. So HubSpot has some pretty cool AI features built into the platform, one of which is their content assistant. So let me just give you a little demo on what that is and what you can do with it. So you'll see that generate blog post button there. And what Content Assistant does is it allows you to pretty much create a blog or aid you in creating a blog and also extend the content within that. So let me show you. So let's say I've got a blog idea here on how to generate more leads. Target audience could be US, that's fine. I'm going to save it to the Blend blog. And now it's going to generate some titles for me to pick from that are also SEO friendly. So let's go with 10 effective lead generation strategies. So we can also see that this is data pulling from SEMrush in terms of search volume and difficulty to rank and intent. So that's cool. Let's use that as our title. And now it's actually generated some headers for us too. So I could add in a few more here if I wanted to, if I have my own structure I wanted this post to follow. But for now, I'm just going to use the default ones that are in there, but you get the idea. And then when I hit generate blog post, just wait a few minutes or seconds and the blog will be generated. Okay, so the blog's generated. We now have a full post on 10 effective lead generation strategies that we can see here. So it's generated all of this content for me based on the headings it was given. And like with all AI things, especially content driven, this isn't going to be a perfect blog that you should then go ahead and publish. It will need a lot of or some fine tuning. So it's important to bear that in mind and add that to your process. But one of the other things that you can do within Content Assist is if you highlight over text, like so, you'll then see the Content Assistant button pop up. So I can click on that and then I have a few options. I can apply the brand voice, which I've added to the HubSpot settings. I can rewrite this bit, I can expand it, I can shorten it or change the tone. So if I did expand, for example, it's then going to give me a few more paragraphs based on this piece of content. There we go. So you can now see based on that one sentence, it's given me, I mean, essentially another blog post within that almost, it's very a lengthy expansion on there. So yeah, there's a lot you can do with Content Assistant, have a play around, but yeah, bear in mind that you might need to edit it afterwards. Unfortunately, WordPress doesn't offer any built-in AI functionality and it will require third-party plugins for any of this. However, there are a range available that can sometimes extend beyond HubSpot's Content Assistant capability. So if you want to, have AI suggest keywords for you or headlines or, write full articles sometimes just from a title and an outline, it can do that and some plugins can do that. So it's worth looking into these and getting them if you want that functionality. When it comes to website performance, HubSpot CMS has lots of great website performance optimization tools built straight into the platform. Things like automatic image resizing, JavaScript and CSS minification, browser and server caching, pre-rendering, domain rewriting, the list goes on. There's a lot in there. And all of these come together to make the platform really fast and performant. WordPress doesn't exactly excel in performance optimization. It isn't bad, but just the way that WordPress operates and build pages is suboptimal in terms of performance. And to improve the speed of your WordPress website, you'd likely need to install appropriate plugins like caching to stop the server having to load every page. There are lots of plugins available to be able to do that, but it's important to be cautious when installing plugins, because obviously that in itself is consuming valuable server resources, even when they're not actively being used. So yeah, WordPress, fine in terms of performance, but it's not going to blow the world away. When it comes to staging and testing, HubSpot CMS has a built-in tool which they call content staging, which essentially allows you to create or update existing pages and stage them within a sandbox environment, giving you a sandbox URL and domain. And this allows you to have the flexibility to experiment with content before you publish it. That might be a new website or just a updated version of a existing page. So this is really great. You can manage all of your staged pages and publish them and have a log against them with kind of notes and updates that you can then have before you publish, so you can look back on those changes. The only downside of content staging is that it doesn't support a full site reconfiguration. So if you wanted to stage an entire website, including like the entire code base, taking all of your templates, modules, HubDB, and content together in one package, you can't do that. So if you did want to have more comprehensive staging, you might have to look for an alternative solution to that. WordPress doesn't offer a staging functionality right out of the box, but there are a couple of ways to easily do this that suit different requirements and levels of technical expertise. So firstly, most popular hosting platforms do offer staging services right in their platform itself. So that means you can go into your dashboard, set up a staged site. That's essentially going to replicate your entire live site in a sandbox, and then you can push any changes that you make in the sandbox to production or roll back to previous versions if you require. And you can use different plugins too in order to stage a site, like WP Staging or WP Stagecoach. They're both popular choices to do this. So a few different ways to do that on WordPress. When it comes to support, HubSpot CMS is a really great choice because you get their support team and function, I suppose, when you buy the product. So whether you build the website yourself using a theme, or if you work with a HubSpot website agency, their support team will be on hand to help you with a lot of issues. They might be technical issues or other things. They're generally pretty good and will be able to help you with most things. But beyond that official support, and if they can't help, HubSpot also have a really engaged user community where you can tap into the knowledge of other users and partners. So really experts on the platform that can help you troubleshoot or overcome other issues that you might have. As an open source CMS, WordPress doesn't have its own support team, unfortunately. To actually get support for your website, you'd need to review the documentation or add a question in the community, which is quite large and active and supportive. So that is a good option. Or you'll need to reach out to a WordPress developer or agency to help you out. When it comes to training, in terms of understanding how to use your site, how to edit it, update it, maintain it, HubSpot CMS is really great because it's a managed CMS service. HubSpot can essentially unify its training materials because fortunately websites don't differ massively in terms of like the editing experience and stuff. It's still very familiar, even between different websites. So the HubSpot Academy itself offers video courses and a lot of documentation that help both marketers and developers understand how to use HubSpot CMS and really get the most out of it. And these are kept up to date and refreshed with any new material that's needed if HubSpot makes changes to the CMS. WordPress, on the other hand, with its open source flexibility, does create some training challenges. Because it's highly customizable, it does make unifying any kind of training material almost impossible, because two implementations are never usually the same or similar in some cases. And while some quality courses do exist, because there is so much variance across websites, almost no training applies perfectly between websites. Even theme specific training might not match the actual website's bespoke configuration. So, yeah, WordPress training is hard and usually requires some kind of customization, and teams need their own tailored materials that are focused on their website. Okay, now let's talk about cost and pricing. And because the cost of building a brand new bespoke website can vary massively based on your requirements and your situation, I focused on the ongoing running cost of each platform here. So let's dive into HubSpot CMS. So HubSpot has 4 different pricing tiers for its CMS that kind of scale with functionality as you progress through them. So let's start with the HubSpot CMS free version, obviously £0 a month. And this is a good entry point for individuals or small businesses. You've got the great editing experience and infrastructure in HubSpot, but obviously some drawbacks that do come with free versions of software. Then you've got Starter, which is at £21 a month at the time of recording this video. And this is HubSpot's kind of paid for entry level tier. It's okay for small businesses. Again, you get the benefits of the editing experience and the infrastructure, but you can remove HubSpot branding, create more pages, things like that. So a bit of extra functionality on top. Then you've got HubSpot CMS Professional, which is £315 a month at the time of recording this video. This is the most popular choice for using HubSpot CMS. It gives businesses most of what they need for a website. You get additional functionality like content staging, custom reporting, HubDB, and a lot of the things you need to create a custom bespoke website, basically. And then you move on to the largest package, which is HubSpot CMS Enterprise. That's £1,050 a month. And this is obviously HubSpot's most advanced CMS. It does come with a premium price tag. But, if you do require that custom functionality like membership areas, custom objects, sandbox accounts, reverse proxy configuration, web app functionality, a lot of these custom functionalities and advanced features that you might need, HubSpot CMS Enterprise might work for you in those cases. And of course, whilst HubSpot CMS does cover pretty much everything you need to build a website on, you will still need to, register your domain name and manage your DNS accounts somewhere, DNS records somewhere. So worth bearing that in mind. So let's talk about the cost behind WordPress. And despite a lot of common thinking, WordPress websites certainly aren't free, and in a lot of cases aren't particularly cheap. Because it's highly customizable, cost for websites can vary, but here's a bit of a idea of the kind of costs you can expect or ongoing costs that you can expect to maintain. So you'll have to pay for managed hosting somewhere. So that could be between like £3 and £70 a month, depending on which provider you choose to go through. If you pay for a theme yourself, you'll typically have a one-off cost. That can vary massively, but in some cases you might have an ongoing fee of like £50 to £200 a year. In terms of plugins, again, there are so many available, it's hard to determine actually how much each WordPress website will spend on paid for plugins. But I think usually you'll see around 5, sometimes more paid for plugins on a website. And these can vary between, £0 to £1,000 a month. Some are one-off costs, but some are ongoing too. So it's worth bearing that in mind. When it comes to security, obviously as an open source platform, making sure your website is secure is incredibly important. So you need a good security plugin. For something like Securi or WordFence, you're talking, between $200 and $1,000 a year. So worth bearing that in mind as well. And then you've got the maintenance fee behind WordPress. Given its open source nature, it does require consistent maintenance to update the software and plugins and just preserve that integrity of your website. So if you don't have the technical expertise within house, it's worth bearing the cost in mind that it might take to hire, a freelancer or agency to keep that maintenance up for you. So there you have it. That was the complete breakdown of the key differences between HubSpot CMS and WordPress. And hopefully it will give you everything that you need to make an informed decision on the platform that's best for your business.